VO2 Max. What is it and what it means for you? Our next speaker is Vichot. You already got me with that title.
Thank you, Ron. VO2 Max. What is it? What does it mean for you? How can you improve it? During today's presentation, I want to tell you a little bit about what it is. I do plan to use blandishment in my presentation in order to convince you that VO2 Max is important, even though you may have never heard the term in your life. How many of you have heard of the term VO2 Max before? I see one hand up in the back. As many of you know, I love running. I love the freedom that running allows me. I love the structure that it adds to my schedule. But I also love the constant improvement that you get when you're running, especially when you track your progress. And one of the things that I've been doing a lot of research on throughout the past 2 years or so is on this very topic, VO2 Max. So what exactly is VO2 Max? VO2 Max, essentially, the scientific definition is the maximum amount of oxygen that a human can consume during one bout of exercise up until failure. So what does that mean exactly? Let me put it in other terms. That means if you were to go out right now and sprint as far as you can, as fast as you can, for as long as you can, what is the maximum amount of oxygen that your cardiovascular system can process before you completely stop, before you give up? Hint, hint, this is essentially one way to calculate how fit somebody is. It's a fitness score. VO2 max is expressed as milliliters per kilogram of body weight. And so if you think about it, this means that you can take this score and you can use it for various individuals based on their body weight. So you can compare and contrast, we can compare and contrast all of us in this room. VO2 max essentially allows you to calculate your upper limit. So it tells you what is the upper limit of how capable you are at an aerobic exercise. Now, you may be thinking, well, if I know somebody's VO2 max score, does that mean that it can guarantee them that they're going to win the marathon? Or that they're going to be the fastest sprinter out on the football field? Probably not. Because there are other factors that contribute to how good you are, such as your mental ability to be able to cope with the pain, your ability to be able to sustain that effort for a long time, and also, and more importantly, something like your running form. So think of it like a really fast car, but that is also very fuel efficient. I wanted to give you some numbers of what the average human's VO2 max score is. For men, that is about 35 to 40. And for women, that is about 27 to 30. These are for individuals who are not very active. For individuals who are active, you can add about 10 points to each of these scores. Who can recognize any of these up here? I couldn't hear what you said.
Is that documentary on the right?
Exactly.
I saw them, but I can't remember.
I know this
their
guy.
name.
He's a
I
British.
saw both of them, but I can't remember them.
So you guys are right. On the left, we have Ulid Kipchoge.
Yeah, keep choking.
Only man to ever run under 2 hours in the marathon. If you've seen the Breaking 2 documentary, it's a lot about him. This woman in the middle, Marie Borgen, Olympic cross-country skier. And on the right, Chris Froome. He won the Tour de France in 2017. So up here, ladies and gentlemen, you have the creme de la creme, the cream of the crop, the best, the elite. Look at their scores. Way above that 40 and 50 that we saw for men and women. But the winner of them all, this man. This man, it is said that he scored a 96 in his VO2 max score. This is usually to about 100. The studies say that it is not exactly sure if this number is accurate, although it's probably very close to it. And so, what does this mean? Who has done science in this topic? This man that you see right here, this is Dr. Jack Daniels. No relation to the awesome whiskey. Dr. Jack Daniels is considered one of the best running coaches in the world. He has coached multiple Olympic runners. And he came up with this concept of the V dot. So when you express the VO2, there's a dot in there, right? When you write it out. He says VO2 Max. He has come up with a calculator that essentially, based on a lot of research and a lot of analysis, allows for you Kirk, you Francisco, Elena, any one of you, to take one of your most recent running performances, meaning the time that you scored over that distance, and plug it into his calculator. And based on that, he can tell you what you're gonna run in other races of varying lengths. This is very important stuff, because this allows you to test how fit you are in that race against other people, but also how you will perform across different distances without even running the race. And his numbers are pretty close. He also provides you with certain training intensities. So if you think of your aerobic capacity, it is a lot like a muscle, like your heart, right? In order for you to build a muscle, you have to stress the muscle, right? That's why people lift weights and get big. Your aerobic capacity is the same exact thing. You have to stress it. And so you can use these training intensities in order to know on which day you have to run at what pace. This is my experience with the VO2 Max test. So how do you calculate the score? Typically, you go into a lab where there's very expensive, fancy equipment. It's called a med cart, is what you see here. And this hooks up to various points in your body. One on the heart, on the sides of the chest. And you wear a mask. This mask has to be sealed completely. So the only way you're breathing is through that mask. It almost feels like if you're being suffocated, but you're really not. And then this individual, the one that is administering the test, puts the treadmill on an incline. And every couple of minutes, he increases the incline and he increases the pace. And you're working 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 and you're working. And it is not very fun. It comes to the point where you are completely exhausted. You stop and you open up and you stop on the treadmill. You guys know the deal, right? Mm-hmm. The whole point of it is to see what your aerobic capacity is. And at the very end, he gives you a number. And that is your magical number. You can also calculate this using a fitness watch. Usually Garmin, Polar, the Apple Watch may do it. Yeah. This connects to a heart rate strap. It's another way for you to calculate it. So what does this all mean, ladies and gentlemen? Should you go out and get your VO2 Max tested? Probably not. For the average individual, it really doesn't mean anything. It's just another fitness score. I think for a lot of us, it's all about staying healthy. If you think about it though, by you staying healthy and by you exercising, indirectly you're also increasing your VO2 Max. So we have some individuals in here who like playing basketball, who like riding on the Peloton, who enjoy fitness classes, rowing, skiing, anything. Anything that gets your heart rate up, what you may have heard of as HIIT or high interval training, that kind of stuff increases your VO2. And it allows you to stay healthy at the same time. So if you think about it, we're all kind of working on our VO2 Max, aren't we? I think the main goal here, and what I want for you to take out of this is just, it's important to stay healthy. This is just another parameter, another dot on that form that you know how fit you are. Perhaps this year when you're watching the Summer Olympics and they start talking about VO2 Max, maybe it'll ring a bell and you'll remember this speech. Yep. Thank you.